All right. Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to A Course in Miracles, and a special welcome to those that are clicking this link and watching this video from Enlightened World Network, where these series of video presentations on A Course in Miracles were originally a live stream, and this is still being offered happily on Enlightened World Network's YouTube channel. And since we've switched over to the pre-record model, which is this, then more people have joined us from all over the world. So however you have accessed this material, I thank you for tuning in. There are many days where I sit here and I turn on the microphone, which is just off camera here, and the light and the camera, and start talking with the idea that I'm going to be very brief. And sometimes it does not work out that way. Sometimes I discover as I'm going forward and talking that there's a lot more to be said. I'm inspired, I'm called to say some more about a particular subject. And today, as we cover lesson 213 in the workbook, is one of those days where I'm coming in, and by the way, I come into these with very little or no preconceived notions of what I'm actually going to say. And a lot of the time, it's really not me doing the talking. Ultimately, it's not me doing the talking at all. Today's one of those days where I think that I can and am going to be very brief, but this may well end up going on and on. So, well, whichever it is the way it was meant to be. And I submit that it's the way you were meant to receive this information today. It's the way you're meant to understand it, and your experience is the one that matters here. So we start because we're in the midst of the review period that runs from lesson 201 up through lesson 220 in the workbook. We're reviewing one idea a day with the central theme: I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. Let me repeat that one more time, and I want to leave it right there. I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. I've not changed. You've not changed. None of us is broken. We're all perfect love. We simply have forgotten that in the world. That is the condition of the world. That is the condition of cyclic existence, samsara, if you're a student of Buddhism. This is the round of death and rebirth. Yeah, it's the suffering, whether you believe in rebirth or not, doesn't actually make any difference. When we identify with the ego, with a separate sense of self, we run around in the world doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You got it. Einstein's definition of insanity. And of course, the ego resists that. We all resist any suggestion that we're actually completely insane. But this is what this is. This world where we identify with the ego is insanity. As long as we perceive ourselves as a separate I, that a separate sense of self, we're by definition insane. As we discover on the spiritual path, sometimes in massive quantum leaps, sometimes piece by piece, is that reality is otherwise. The reality is we're not a body. We're not broken. We are as God created us and have never changed. In the world, there's constant change. In truth, in reality, or heaven, if you prefer, there is no change. It's just the living, breathing experience of God's love, the peace of God. Question for us in the moment, which do we want? Because our minds are so powerful. Your mind is so powerful. You see, you feel, you touch, taste, hear, experience what you want to see. Again, we experience what we wish to experience, what we want to see. The world we want to see is the world we see. We're that powerful. This means that right now, in the present moment, you can change your mind. I invite you to do so right now. Choose to see the peace of God instead of the chaos of the ego. Sounds simple? It is. Spirituality is simple. It's disarmingly simple. We're the ones, of course, that add the additional layers of complication, aren't we? We make things complex. We divide and subdivide the truth into multiple component and subcomponent categories in an endless stream of mental activity that produces emotional dissatisfaction and suffering. Such is the world as we experience it when we choose to identify with the ego. Happily, of course, there's a way out. So we're reviewing today in lesson 213, we're reviewing workbook lesson 193, which is beautiful and profound. All things are lessons that God would have me learn. Right? All things are lessons that God would have me learn. Everything that we experience is a teaching moment. It is. The most succinct way that I think it makes sense to describe this, and this is something that I talk about in many of these videos, it's something that is quite widely discussed among all teachers of A Course in Miracles that have material either in print or online. All things are lessons that God would have us learn. The question is, do we choose to learn from him? In other words, all of the drama that we experience in the world seems to be foisted upon us, right? Doesn't it? Disease, pandemics seem to be foisted upon us. Political pressures, dissatisfactions seem to be foisted upon us. Everything that we appear to experience here in the world is, in fact, an opportunity for forgiveness. It has always helped me tremendously to remember, especially when I get frustrated, because it happens, right? That everything that someone does in the world is either an expression of love or it is a call for love. If you prefer to think of love as a call for love, as a cry for help, that works too, because it is. So seeing things in that way, the appropriate response to a call for love is, of course, to extend love. It is not to drive a further wedge between us and them, between subject and object. It's not the skillful or appropriate thing to do to draw further distinctions and wall ourselves off even further. All things are lessons that God would have us learn. Everything that happens to us that we would label as a negative emotion, fear, frustration, rage, dissatisfaction of any kind, is in fact an opportunity for forgiveness. It is an opportunity handed to us on a platter to forgive, to leave the past behind, to leave our conditioning behind, to forgive and lay aside all of our grievances, all of them, leaving no stone unturned, literally. each and every one of them. Everything that happens, that appears to happen in the world outside, is really going on inside your mind. Things that trouble you are an opportunity to forgive. Things that are beautiful are an opportunity to recognize and to give thanks. They're symbolic. Everything is symbolic. Someone else's bad behavior that affects you is symbolic of something that's going on in your mind, to be forgiven and laid aside. Everything that is beautiful in the world outside you is an opportunity to recognize and give thanks. It's symbolic of our abundance as Christ. It's symbolic of our joy. It's symbolic of our limitlessness as one with God, as the Son of God, as the Course puts it. It's all an opportunity. Our entire lives are one giant opportunity. So I invite you to take advantage of that opportunity today, to seize on that opportunity, because that is what our life experience is presenting to us. It's an opportunity for us to awaken. Now, this is a thought system. A Course in Miracles is, of course, a thought system. And there is a lot more that can be said about this, but I want to just leave it right here today. Everything that you experience is symbolic. Everything's going on in your own mind. Now, your own mind is not separate from anyone else's. But when you have the experience that it is that way, know that it's an opportunity for forgiveness. And take heart in this, because this is a very powerful idea. It's a profound opportunity. And it really is a blessing to be able to recognize what's going on apparently out there as an opportunity for you to clear some of the cobwebs in your own mind. And the results, guys, the rewards of this, the peace of God, it's what we all want. All right. Thank you for tuning in.